just a Sony hater. You hate Sony. Well, actually, I don't like Sony. I did shock everybody when I reviewed the A9 because I was completely fair to it. Anyway, after I've gotten like the 10th email from somebody, and by the way, I never tell anybody to sell their stuff. I was like, that sucks. Go sell it and buy something. Doesn't matter what the hell you own, one way or the other, lens or camera. I don't ever tell anybody to sell anything. But after I received like my dozenth or more email yesterday, I thought I'd make a video about this. And these are people that love Sony. And basically all the emails sum up to this. You know, I'm really disappointed with Sony. I've owned the A6000, A6300, I had an A7R2. Half the emails say that the camera crashed on them, which, you know, I'm just going to leave that out, even though I mentioned it. Let's just say none of them had an issue. Everyone was repeating the same thing. They're disgusted by, and I think if like you're starting in a system, if you buy identical lenses and cameras like A7R2 or A7R3, Nikon D850 and some lenses, that the Sony system, if you get in at like investing say $8,000, you get basically something like 44% more for your money on Nikon, for example. Sony is a really expensive system, and the reason for that is several reasons. The main issue is it's not a contiguous system. There's a word people don't use every day. It means contiguous. And what would be a great example of contiguous? Like you buy like an old car made in the 40s. Maybe that's a bad example. You can't find any parts that are factory made, designed to go on there. You might find some aftermarket stuff. Sony doesn't have a contiguous system, and so it ends up being rather expensive. I mean, Sony's great claim to fame is adapting Canon lenses and other lenses onto their system. It's just adapters galore, and I like adapters. I mean, by the way, there's an adapted lens on this Fuji. Someone would mention that there's an adapted lens on the Fujifilm camera sitting right here, because Fujifilm doesn't make a lens like that, the 105-1.8. But I mean, it is a more expensive system to get into. It does bleed you dry. And whether you love Sony or hate Sony, and I don't hate Sony, I just have an extremely low opinion of Sony because they're not a camera company; they're a consumer electronics company, and there's a lot of stuff that they don't do right. But I've mentioned that 1,000 times before. But anyway, I do get a lot of emails from people, and they're fed up with Sony's nonsense of being so damn expensive. It's like, I want to get into this system, and it's just been, you know, it's been sucking my wallet dry like there's a permanent gigantic leech attached to their wallet. And my answer to that is, I understand and I feel you. You buy whatever you want. I mean, I don't make a dime no matter what the hell you buy. I just want people to be happy, honestly. I mean, that should be a goal. Don't have any affiliate links. So be happy. But do realize if you get into Sony that it will bleed you dry. It's much more expensive than Nikon, and reliability per 1,000 units nowhere near as good as Fuji's #1. Nowhere near as good as, and I'm no fan of Canon either, because their crappy dynamic range and the fact that they haven't made a good product or an innovative product in like 5 or 6 years. But Canon, Nikon, and Fuji are all better choices. I mean, if you're made out of money and you want to own a Sony and a lens or two, then it's not that bad. But if you want to start growing into the system that is the Sony system, I'm looking at the time here. Then Sony is really expensive. They're the most actually, I'm not counting Leica. So someone's going to say, "Oh, Leica's more." Let's not count Leica, for Christ's sakes, okay? It is the most expensive system, and you know, all these people that own Sony have been complaining to me in email. You know, I never half of them say, "Should I sell it?" And I never say sell your stuff, because I don't say that about anything. I'm not about anybody selling their stuff and jumping to another system just to say that, oh, you know, I tried something. You know, rent it. You know, see if you like it. If you really want to jump ships from one thing to another, whatever the hell that is, you know, rent it. I know renting is not cheap, but it's a lot cheaper than making a big jump and then regretting it, isn't it? So, I don't care what you shoot, but I did need to make that stay. So, Sony is much more expensive. That's not my opinion, it's a fact. And the Sony fanboys, I don't know if they call me fanboy, if I can call them fanboys, the one that email me, that are heavily into the Sony system, and they're sick of the system bleeding them dry. And, that's just a fact. That's from the people that are into Sony. That's not my opinion. I mean, they're emailing me, for God's sake. So, why don't you try to jump on me about this, you two? You just hate Sony. You're a Sony hater. Well, I'm discussing people that email me about their Sony, for crying out loud. So what the hell are you going to jump on me about? Huh? Doesn't matter, because that's the way social media works, you know. You can't make anybody happy. If I made a video about giving money away, it'd be a bunch of people have their knickers in a twist. They'd be like, oh, and I certainly never got, that's not going to happen. I don't have the money to give away. Doesn't matter what you do, someone's going to complain. Yep. Thanks for watching. Happy holidays. Hasta luego, do svidenia, aloha, and uvidimся, as the Russians would say. Yep. Bye.